Okay, guys, we're going to start out with Lecture 8, Part 1. This is just going to be a review lesson for you guys. All it's going to be is graphing lines. So we're going to talk about your slope-intercept form. After we talk about your slope-intercept form, we're going to talk about your getting or having them in the standard form like 2x plus 3 equals 6 and how we need to adjust that so that we can go ahead and graph those there. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started here. Okay, first one here, graphing using slope-intercept form. What is our slope-intercept form? So your slope-intercept form is your y equals mx plus b. Y equals mx plus b. So what do each of these stand for here? Well, your b in this case, you guys should remember, is your y-intercept. Okay, now your y-intercept, what is that? Well, that's just where it's going to cross the y-axis. Okay, common mistake that we have, say I've got a graph here, okay, I will get kids when they graph their y-intercept that they will graph it here. Is that on the y-axis? No, that would be the x-axis. Okay, so just remember when you guys, whoopsie, get that color changed. Oh, I know why that's not doing it, because I just have the eraser out. Sorry, playing with a new toy here. Okay, so make sure when we are drawing these that we are drawing these on the y-axis here. That's where it's going to hit the y-axis. Okay, the next thing that we have is your slope, which your m is your slope. Okay, now remember your slope is your rise over your run. Okay, and it's also important for us to know with your slope being rise over run that if that top number is positive, that means that we are going up. Okay, so if that top number is positive, we're going up. If that top number is negative, then we are going down. Okay, so positive on top means up. Negative on the top means that we are going down. Okay, now for our run on the slope, if it's positive, remember that's we are going to the right. And if it is negative, we are going to the left. Okay, inevitably, when I talk to you guys about this, you'll say, hey, you need to go down 2, and then you're going to go over 5. Well, what is over? It's important to make sure that you guys say you are going to the right or you are going to the left so that we can make sure that we have that identified correctly. Okay, so next thing that we got here is graphing using our slope-intercept form. So they have asked you guys to graph y equals 3x plus 1. So how are you going to graph y equals 3x plus 1? Well, first, you want to start with your y-intercept. So if we remember, y equals mx plus b, that b was our y-intercept. So we have a positive 1 for our y-intercept. So I'm going to go to the y-axis, and I'm going to put a dot there at the 1. Okay, once I have identified that, I now need to look for my slope, which remember your slope is just that m. So I'm looking at my 3 there for my slope. Okay, so we have a slope of 3. But remember your slope is rise over run. So I need to make 3 a fraction. How can I make 3 a fraction? Well, I can put it as 3 over 1. Okay, so this is a positive 3 and a positive 1. So that means that I can go up 3 and to the right 1 to find my second point. Okay, now, along with that, you could also say that this is a negative 3 over a negative 1, because if I take a negative divided by a negative, that does give me a positive 3 there. Okay, so I could say that's a negative 3 over negative 1, which means that I could also go down 3 and to the left 1. But regardless, that is going to give me the same line when I graph that there. Okay, so that is graphing lines using your slope-intercept form. Okay, I want us to go ahead now and, oh my goodness, I don't think that's what your guys' page looks like. I'm sorry that that's what mine looks like. But I would like you guys to graph the following lines. Okay, so pause the video, graph these 2 lines down below. Okay, hopefully you guys have paused the video there. So when I go about graphing these, get that off of there. Okay, I've got y equals negative 1/2 x plus 3. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, my y-intercept is at 3 here. Okay, I've got a slope of negative 1/2. Okay, when you have a negative, remember that negative either goes to the top or to the bottom. So it's either a -1 over a +2, because that would give me negative 1/2. Or my other option is I could go a +1 over a -2. So that negative only goes to either the top or the bottom. It cannot go to both because two negatives would give me a positive. Okay, so the negative goes to one or the other. So I could go down 1, and then I could go to the right 2. So down 1 to the right 2. There's a point. Or I could go up 1. And if I went up 1, I would need to go to the left 2. Okay, so here is what my line should look like for y equals negative 1/2 x plus 3. Okay, next one, I've got y equals negative 2x minus 1. Okay, so this is our first one where our y-intercept is negative. So if I look at -1 for my y-intercept, I'm just moving down to the bottom part because that's where the negatives are on our y-axis. Okay, slope of -2. So that could simply be a -2 over 1 because a negative divided by a positive gives me a -2. Or I could do a +2 over a -1. +2 over -1 would also give me a -2. So either way will work for this one here. So I could go up 2 and to the left 1 if I wanted to. Or I could go down 2 and to the right 1 if I would prefer to do it that way. And there we go, graphing our lines. So like I said, this is stuff that you guys have done before. Just wanting to kind of review it with you guys, make sure that you remember it. Before we go on to our next video, we are going to talk about, hey, how do you find the equation of a line? So if you guys look down here, I've got the equation of the line on there. Okay, and what I want you to do for this one is I want you to tell me what is y equals mx plus your b. Okay, so we need to find our m and we need to find our b. So you just kind of plug them in. Starting out with, okay, what is my y-intercept? Well, this right here is my y-axis. Okay, where does it cross that y-axis? Well, it crosses it right there at 0, 3. So my y-intercept is just simply a 3. So I'll have y equals, don't know what our slope is yet, plus 3. Okay, now how do I go about finding the slope then? Sorry, I'm going to erase this just so you guys can see. We want to use our slope triangle here when we are doing this. Okay, so slope triangle. I'm going to start at this point up here. I can count to get to my next point. 1, 2, 3. And I went down 3 spots. Okay, then I'm going to count to the right. 1. I went to the right 2 spots. So that's a +2 over a -3. So remember, your slope is rise over run. So we've got -3 over +2, which just equals -3/2. So my slope is -3/2. Now, also, just a reminder, that's not the only way you could do this. You could start at this bottom point down here, and you could go 1, 2, 3. Well, then I have a +3. And then I could go to the left 2. So if I go to the left 2, that's a -2. So if I have a +3 over a -2, that still gives me -3/2. Okay, so either way you guys count when you're finding your slope, you will still get the same answer. So we have y equals -3/2 x plus 3 is the equation for this line. Last thing I want you guys to do on this video, okay, I've got 2 lines down there for you. Pause the video, tell me what the equation of those 2 lines are. Okay, hopefully you guys have that video paused. Going through this here, starting out identifying our y-intercept. So for this one here, our y-intercept would be 2. Okay, now I need to find the slope. Well, I can see it crosses right there at 2. It also appears to cross right at this point here. So I'm going to go down 1, so that'd be a -1, and to the right 2, so that'd be a +2. So my equation for this line is y equals -1 over +2 That's just negative 1/2 x, don't forget your x, plus 2, because it's a positive 2. Okay? Now, on this next one over here, y-intercept. Y-intercept is at 3. My slope for this one, I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, down 4, so negative 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. To the right, 5, positive 5. Okay, so again, y equals negative 4 over positive 5 because it's rise over run. Okay, negative 4, whoops, don't want to put that negative there, my bad. We're going to go negative 4/5 x plus 3. And that is the equation of your line. Next video, we're going to talk about putting these into the y equals mx plus b form.